Hello, I'm Julia Cordova. Thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel and liking my videos. I really appreciate it. Today I'm going to do just a quick chart review, and then tomorrow I am going to interview two absolute freaking legends in the world of finance, and we're going to get their thoughts on the activities from last week, and more importantly, what they believe will happen in the near short term and in the future. Because I care about why things happen, but I care more about how much I can profit from things that will happen. So that's what I'll be focused on, and I'm super excited about it. Okay, ready for charts? Whoop. All right. Okay, let's do this thing. So this is the ES or SPX weekly futures chart. So last week we finally had what looks like the beginning, possibly, of a pullback. Is that the whole pullback? Don't know yet. But the back test of this pullback will be at 37.66 or so next week. And then from a support perspective, I don't see a lot going on here until about 3600 or so. How did I get that number? Well, I was just looking here. So we have a point here, some candle bodies here, and then another point here, another and here. So it looks like this 3600 area has very strong support. But then below that, I don't really see a lot until we get to this previous high, which is around 3400. So if we do get a pullback, I would look to go long. Oh my gosh, really? Yep, really. Anywhere between 3600 and 3400, depending on what the market action looks like in between. Now that's from a weekly perspective, okay? We're also below this RSI support right now, the ambulance line. So if it does pull back up, it'll pull back up pretty quickly and pretty fast. But for now, we're below RSI support, and those are the two figures I'm watching, 3600 and 3400. Okay, let's look at the daily. So it does make logical sense, I think, at least to come back and hit the star line, which is 3661 on Sunday/Monday. We'll see what happens there. And below that, we're going to get back into Eric. I miss Eric. We're going to get back into Eric's tweet lines, which are 3565 or so, and then all the way down to 3483. But first, let's monitor these two pivots, which is 3661. And then on the upside, the oops, did we break down though? Would be 3764 or so. All right. Now let's look at Nasdaq. So this is the weekly Nasdaq futures chart. And you can see this pin I drew in last week. And so last week we finally had a red week, but we still haven't back tested this line, which is, I mean, I fully did expect it to back test this line. The fact that it didn't means that if it does get below this next one, which is next week, 12620 or so, the next figure I'm watching would be 11,961, which is the breakout from this pennant. And if it gets below that, going all the way down here to this line. I don't know when it'll happen, so I don't want to put a marker on there. But if it does, if we do get below 11,961 or so, I will post it on Twitter, and you can see where I think it'll get. But well, let's see. I will put it there just because. If it got there next week, which would be, it's possible, it would be 10,122 or so. Okay, let's look at the Nasdaq daily futures. Now, I should also say that I calculated the measure move for this pennant last week, and it went all the way up to 17,794 or 17,800 or so. Blah. Doesn't mean it'll happen, guys. It doesn't mean it'll happen. But speaking of things that did happen, I calculated this measured move from this bull flag last week and said it was 13,600 or so, and we got to 13,599.75. Wow. I mean, I will say, when I calculate my measured moves for my flags, either with Tesla or with Nazi, they've been pretty accurate so far. So yay, pat on my shoulder. However, I didn't announce it on Twitter, and I didn't even take the full nuclear short until it started dropping. I should have, though. I got a little spooked out by people who were mean to me on Twitter and just criticizing my style of trading, even though it freaking works. So I don't know why I was freaked out. I shouldn't have been. I messed up. Sometimes I get overly concerned with people, and I shouldn't have done that. Anyway, I will next time let you know when we reach one of my nuclear pivots. Hello. But at least I talked about it in the video, so you knew about it ahead of time. And I did post to somebody, I'm like, if we miss this thing by a quarter, but actually it was 13,592. So I was actually just thinking, well, it'll overshoot 13,600. I'm not that good. Like I figured it wouldn't be, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Water under the bridge. So for now, we are below this 12970 pivot. And as long as we can stay below that, that would be a nice back test to get short if you're not already. But as long as we can stay below that, I expect it would likely come back to this next line. And so depending on when we hit it, because this is a daily chart, it's at about 12,500 or so. So as long as we stay below 12,970-ish, and more specifically 13,100, ish, because that would be above 13,100. I'd be like, ooh, should I be short? Should I don't know. But then below here, I'm going to feel much more comfortable staying short. So we'll see whether or not we can stay below there or not. But it looks like it probably will back test that. And let's talk gold. Okay, so I had been bearish gold, and I mean, looking at these charts, there is still nothing bullish looking about the gold weekly chart. Come on. I mean, we had a fakey breaky here that I talked about. We did come back and back test the 1797 level and whoop up. Well, ish. We got really close. And then last week, though, I did get scared out of my gold short when on Thursday we kind of flashed back above the line I was watching on the hourly. So I do not currently hold any gold short position that I had before. Watching for next week, 1862 or so. If gold gets above 1862 or so, or 1863, let's say, then I'm going to say it's going to start to look a whole lot more bullish. Now it has to get above 1863 and hold there. From a 4-hour perspective, though, is this a fakey breaky? And then, I do not know yet. But for now, it really is just it looks like it's just consolidating here, and no decision has been made. We sort of held here. We back tested the 20 EMA on the weekly. And so if it gets above 1862 first, I'm going to be like, ooh, starting to look bullish. And then if it really bullish, if it gets above 1878 or so. All right. Now let's talk silver. So last week I talked about silver looking much more bullish than gold did from a weekly perspective. And that is still the case. And in fact, I am long silver again. I didn't get the best price. I don't care, because you know what? I am a woman of the people, and if people want to squeeze silver, that's fine. I'm in. I'm for sure in. But you know when to add would be if it gets above this 29.2 pivot. 29.2 is really the next level up resistance for silver. And so above that, I'm going to say, wow, people are buying this. It's going to go to the moon. So watching 29.2, and then above that 32.30, and then above that the measured move of this bull flag, went ahead and drew it in since I'm really good with flags, is 43.30. So silver broke out of this flag. Didn't necessarily, I mean, it's held this channel. So it didn't necessarily fakey breaky the way the gold did. It never did. So, yeah, we'll see. If it can get above 29.2, bullish. And if it gets above 32.30, very, very bullish. Now, I don't know anything about squeezes. I don't know anything about the hedge funds and how they do all that. I don't know anything about that. I don't know. I'll ask those people tomorrow. I'll ask my experts tomorrow. But we'll see. I mean, they could screw all of us that went long silver already. I hope not. I hope not. All right. Anyway, let's look at oil. Okay. So from a weekly perspective, this is oil's futures. It has not done anything. Boring. From the oil's equity stocks, it's pulled back. It never got above the 72.09. Remember, I talked about this potentially being an ascending triangle. So, I mean, as long as we're below 72.09, it's snoozeville. Now, if it gets all the way down to this 20 MA at 53.63, or let's say 54 or so, I'm going to say, I might try and buy some there. So we'll see if it gets there. If it does, I'll figure out whether I can get a really good entry for everybody, and I'll announce it if I do. But, you know, the safest place to buy this would be above 72.09, because then I think it's going to break the F out when it gets above that. Okay, let's look at natural gas. I was doing so good in Natty until Friday, and Friday it just kind of took a dump. Oh, but it still looks like that. Oops. Ooh, still looks like that inverted head and shoulders, shoulder, head, shoulder. And really, as long as it stays above 2.49 or so, which is this big key, it's still looking very uber bullish to me. And so if it does go there, that'd be a great opportunity to take a YOLO along. And then just from a very near term perspective though, 2.527 hopefully will hold. And then it can go to this next key, which is the neckline at 2.81 or so. All right, now let's look at coffee. I don't like to brag about my lines. I love to brag about my lines. But this in particular was a jankety ass diamond that I drew sort of like haphazardly, and look how perfectly it held. What? No, I mean, last week I talked about it looking like a diamond consolidation, and so I drew this in here, and it just happened to hold right on that diamond last week at 35.97. So for next week, I'm looking for it to potentially, let's say, back test or get a back above or get around this 36.66. But even if it goes back down to 35, I'm going to say 27 or so, I still think it looks bullish. So if it gets below 35.27 or so, I'll start to reconsider. I'll have to figure out whether this is a diamond or what's happening here. But for now, it's just consolidation. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. Make myself big. Okay. Thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel, and I will see you tomorrow, I hope. Okay. Thank you. Bye.